Saturn is literally known as the matrix. Then what you have with Uranus energy is the awakening out of our concepts of lower consciousness and into more higher consciousness. So Uranus is literally opposing Saturn even at the level of fate itself. Through the precession of the equinoxes, we are making our way into the Age of Aquarius. So I'm going to be breaking down major themes for us to expect within this age, for us to truly appreciate what the Age of Aquarius offers us and the opportunity that it can provide us. We first have to look at the two planets that rule over the Age of Aquarius and Aquarius, which is Saturn and Uranus. Now, you could not have two more oppositional planets than that. So that tells you a lot already about the energies that are working through this age. When you have two completely oppositional planets and archetypes, such as Saturn and Uranus. What this means is that Saturnian energy and Uranus energy are both being used almost like in a temperance, almost like in a combination. And the energies are providing a specific type of transformational alchemy. Because Saturn, as many of us know, is literally known as the matrix itself. It's known as the demiurge. Now, I'm going to be doing its own episode on Saturn alone because of its esoteric significance. But to be brief right now, Saturn is time, meaning that it controls not just our chronological timelines. It controls the concept of time, the concept and the construct of space-time. And specifically what that's linked to in esoterica is predeterminism and fate. So you have very strong karma linked with time as well. So Saturn rules karma. Saturn rules fate. Saturn rules also challenges and lessons. In fact, Saturn is so strict, so cold, and so stoic that it is known as the demiurge itself. If you'd like to know more about specifically what the demiurge even means, you can watch my video on it, The Demiurge Explained. So when Saturn is ruling over Aquarius and it's co-ruling with Uranus, it's complete opposite. What you're first getting, the first clue about the themes to expect in the Age of Aquarius, is multi-layered. The first layer is that Saturn represents structures and institutions and systems that govern over human consciousness. So that now is a key indicator about the Age of Aquarius completely being a transition over from old structures, old paradigms, old ways that time itself operated and the karma that is linked with that, into Uranus energies. So what is Uranus energies? That would be the most eccentric archetypal energy that represents a planet and represents the energies that are working through that plane it. So if you have an issue with planets, then just substitute planets for planes and you'll be fine. So the energies of Uranus are what I would look at as being like a revolving door, and also very much like one of those roulette tables in gambling where it's like anything can go. Like when you throw the dice down, it's a total risk. It's like, what's going to happen next? Which is the complete opposite of something being rigid and being fated. So Uranus is literally opposing Saturn even at the level of fate itself. It's something where there's totally something random, well, seemingly random and risky, and almost like a wild card that gets thrown into the mix. So Uranus provides wild card energy, and that's very important for us to know. Another part of Uranus ruling Aquarius is innovation. So what you'll see with Uranus energy is that innovations come through that normally would never be able to be thought of because Uranus energy is so eccentric. It's so expansive and out there that it literally can channel into this dimension thought forms that are meant to awaken the collective consciousness. So another theme about Uranus is, think of Uranus energy as being one that literally like awakens a person out of whatever level of reality that they are currently operating in. So it doesn't just stay at one level. It's not like it's a medicine only for some people at a specific level of consciousness. It will always provoke awakenings within a person. And so when you're having this like higher dimensional, higher consciousness, very almost abstract energies like Uranus, and you're channeling that energy into this dimension, what you're having is not just different innovations to express that. You're having literally the time, space, fabric structures that were built from Saturnian energy and from old systems completely reconfigured, like just completely restructured. So Uranus is very strong awakening energies that are specifically meant to destabilize old structures, old patterns, old consciousness, outdated forms of consciousness, in order to bring in higher dimensional, higher consciousness energies that would look to us as eccentric. And so that's how Uranus energy gets perceived to us. And another thing about Uranus energy is that it is rebellious. And that's also a theme that we have covered with Aquarius energy. It's that Aquarius energy, and especially having Uranus rule over it, is like the perfect energy for rebellion. Now, why this is important is because one of the major themes for the Age of Aquarius, and we're already in those energies now. So even though we're going into that age, we are already in those energies. And many of us are so energetically sensitive that we're already feeling those themes and playing, with those energies already. But here's the most esoterically significant thing about the planets that rule over Aquarius. And that's, if a person wants to exit the matrix or exit the simulation or ascend, whatever your goal is, think of what your end game is for evolution. Aquarius and Uranus energy provides that opportunity, almost like a window that opens up, or kind of like how there's a revolving door. And during those cycles of a revolving door, you can't always be supported in leaving. Yeah, you can, I guess, but it's not like energetically supported until you go in a specific part of the revolving door, aka the reset cycle. And a specific part of that cycle has super supportive and strong energies for you to exit that realm, aka you're able to leave that revolving door. That's what the Age of Aquarius provides people, the level of awakening with the level of spiritual sovereignty and creative agency to move out of fate and karma are all supplied in the energies now and moving forward. Now, Uranus is also connected to the Fool in tarot. And the Fool is number 0, meaning that there is a full circle that comes to completion and provides an opportunity if a person is willing to take that opportunity. And what that is to go through a full awakening. Go through a full awakening until they go into a specific form of liberation that allows them to do whatever they wish to from now their new level of consciousness. So what that means is that the higher the consciousness, the more liberation that it provides a person, and therefore the more options, opportunities, and choices that a being now has. So if you think of Saturnian energy, almost like the default settings of this reality, right? It's fated, it's predetermined, you're inside time, there's karma, there's all of these different veils that are over our consciousness to really anchor us into our human identity, to our linear perceptions, to our linear egoic self, and all of the different lessons that are assigned and attached to our identity and our soul path. Then what you have with Uranus energy is the awakening out of our concepts of time, our concepts of ego, our concepts of lower consciousness, and into more creative agency, more higher consciousness. And with that, you get whatever opportunities that you wish to align with. So Uranus energy and Saturnian energy mixed together inside this coming age of Aquarius is very important for us to be aware of, because what we're looking at is not just old structures that are being destabilized in order to build a new earth. And that new earth built from a new consciousness. You cannot have a new earth with an old consciousness. You would need a new consciousness. And that new consciousness now creates new systems. It creates harmony with its ecosystem, harmony with others, in order to reflect a new earth. So you have that opportunity mixed with really higher dimensional, really wild card energy. And what that provides is a person to have even more options beyond the new earth. It could be whatever they wish to do. Because now when you're aligning with higher consciousness, you can choose to help others awaken. Or you can choose to graduate outside of time. Or you can choose to help transition the old earth consciousness into the new earth consciousness, and many more. So your spiritual sovereignty is kind of like a launching point for whatever you now choose to do next. But what's important is to understand that rebellious energy, innovation, awakening are vital themes to override a reset. So if you think of Saturn energy as being the structures here inside this third dimension that keep everything on its own algorithm and have default settings here, right? Like karmas here, we have these different type of default settings at this level of reality. Then you could think of Uranus energy as being the wild card, the fool energy that comes into the mix once we start going through an awakening process. And that becomes the liberator or the great awakener. And with that, now what you have is you rewriting the default settings, the reset, the structures that are governing over us when we're in as an asleep and lower state of consciousness form. I hope this has helped you come full circle. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakening. See you next time.